What's up, Samurai? We are back with more Trove. Excuse me. I still have my summer cold a little bit, so the videos are gonna be a little bit sporadic. My point being is that we've got the new event going on, and you guys know that usually I would have these event guides out like by today, but I'm actually gonna be probably putting the event guide out tomorrow because today we're gonna be focusing on the patch notes, which is much more important in my opinion. So let's just get right into it. So Fluxion is now in the game. Let's see if they fixed him because he wasn't working yesterday. And I did notice that there was a hot fix today. Yeah, okay. So to summarize this guy, basically what he's gonna do is, as you can see right here, you can vote every second week on the items that Luxion is going to end up having. However, this week, Caruxian is going to be visiting this weekend. And so instead of the voting system, we can just outright buy certain items out of Fluxion. So it's almost like we're getting twice the Luxion, double the price. I don't know. I mean, obviously you can see these are astronomically expensive prices. I don't like the fact that it's Dragon coins as usual, but I think that the mechanics behind Fluxion are incredible, or at least they are for the potential of what could happen with the future of Trove. Now, just to insert here, I'll insert some footage when I was on the test server. This is what the voting system looks like. Essentially, you can spend your Flux in order to decide what items you want to see most in Luxion's inventory. It's a pretty nice and in-depth system. The reason why I think this is fantastic is because the potential of this system could be huge for Trove. I just hope that the devs actually capitalize on it. An in-game voting system. Now, if you've been around with the channel for a long time, you know that I've actually mentioned this idea years and years ago and regularly in my live streams where they needed to have a voting system either for new content. So there would be an in-game voting system of what do you want to see? New classes? What type of class do you want to see? You know, like they could really take advantage of the in-game community to tally up what the community actually wants to see. Will they end up taking advantage of this system and of these mechanics? I don't know, probably not. Like, we're probably not going to end up seeing an NPC in the middle of the hub that says, oh, hey, what do you guys want to see, you know, in the next Trove update? Oh, classes, biomes, whatever. Like, it could be huge. It could also just help with a lot of other things. You know, they could actually just take feedback on updates, like maybe even do in-game surveys. This is all just stuff off the top of my head that I would think to do, just because it would be really, really cool to have an in-game survey that would say, like, do you guys think that the Cosmic Dragon crafting recipe is fair? Yes or no? Except they would never take the risk of doing something like that because they tried to pretend that there's no backlash to these updates in any way, shape, or form. But in the meantime, we got Fluxion, who kind of, he's okay. So then we've also got the castle Catastra. So this is the new beautiful biome that where everybody is just hoping that this replaces the delves. It's not going to, unfortunately. Maybe it will in time. Basically, it is a biome that the developers created that looks strikingly similar to Shadow Towers in its layout. The color palette is obviously very different. But it is in the delves, which does kind of suck because it means that even if you're grinding a crap ton of the Catastra portal, it essentially means that you are specifically going to be stuck doing the rest of the delves and stuff like that. But anyways, let's read on with the patch notes themselves. So there are specific depth steppers for these portals, which does kind of suck, honestly. There is going to end up being 3 different bosses. Yep. They also, for players who consumed a Furious Fiona memento, a Furious Fiona depth stepper can be crafted at the Delve workbench on Fridays, found under the daily mementos, only once you've gotten the memento. Rather than crystals or shadow shards, within the halls of the Castle Catastra biome, players will collect Cat's Eye Gemeralds, which is a new resource that is used to craft many wonders via the Boxo 9 Tails, which appears after defeating the dungeon boss. These drops are increased by Delve Day, so the Gemeralds themselves will actually get more of them when it is Delve Day, so that's pretty interesting. They occasionally, while wandering the halls of Catastra, additional cat eye gemeralds may be obtained from rare spawning chests, merchants, or workbenches. If you end up seeing those chests and you end up opening them for a fees key, or some of them you actually will destroy, make sure that your friends are with you, because that will actually open for everybody. It's not client side, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having these fee keys. I spent like maybe one of these keys, and then everybody else I played with has spent like more additional keys. And frankly speaking, the chests are just so rare that you're not going to end up spending the keys anyway. So it's just another dumb resource, unfortunately. So there is going to end up being Griff, the field merchant, which will sell the following: 3 mounts to upgrade. So you can make it so that basically there is an item that you can get out of the castle Catastra area for gemeralds that will convert whatever mount you have equipped into a mount that can be used in the delves, which could end up being pretty huge for Volatile Bounder, maybe Gonda. There's not really that many mounts that have too much utility in terms of Trove. I mean, maybe you could even use dragons, which would be hilarious. There is a limited amount of those items that he will sell, but ultimately he does have an unlimited amount. It's just very, very time gated. So they also have another inert geode wallet that you can buy, which will add 200 to the maximum inert geode, which won't really matter too much if you already have a maxed out wallet prior to this update, because frankly speaking, you're going to need tons and tons of inert geode anyways. It does mean that you are going to need that wallet more than likely for certain crafting items, because they're probably going to go over the current capacity of what we can store. 5 cat eye gemeralds will restock weekly. This is still what the merchant is selling. 2 heirloom gemeralds will restock daily. This is a very limited item that is required for a lot of crafting of the new mounts and stuff like that. This item also can very rarely drop from enemies and so on and so forth. There's also going to end up being some recipes with random decorative tombstones, blah, 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 blah. There is also going to end up being a gemerald processing bench. It's very, very expensive, so it's going to be a while before we have it in Team Pixel, unfortunately. But in that bench, we'll be able to craft all the mounts and junk like that. And then also there is going to end up being fees keys that you can craft. No point in doing that, though. There is also 500 cat eye gemeralds that you can craft per week. So they also move on to mention that there are tradable versions of the allies, mounts, and even a boat that can rarely be obtained by defeating Furious Fiona herself. That is a very, very specific boss. As far as I know, it's the boss that is the Weeping Prophet reskin. So big tentacle crybaby boss. The other bosses essentially don't drop anything special. So yeah. They also mentioned that you'll end up getting more gemeralds from completing Catastra Portal, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, essentially that's going to end up summarizing it. You know, they go into more detail about a lot of the stuff that we already ended up talking about. There is going to end up being certain things that might not spawn every time you go through it. So the merchant might not always spawn. More specifically, though, the allies that you end up getting are what you're going to want to focus on crafting, because they are ultimately going to end up making it so that you'll get more gemeralds from enemies, mining, completing dungeons, so on and so forth. If you can get your hands on Fennec as soon as possible, because this is going to be the ally that will greatly increase the drop chance of gemeralds from enemies within Catastra. Overall, my review of the area is it needs to be everywhere. They need to get rid of the additional portals that are required, or the additional delve caves that are required to go into Catastra. I even had a couple friends that they logged onto Trove because they saw the Catastra area. And then they felt like they got clickbaited because they realized that it was just a new third floor biome, and they still had to go through the normal caves, and then they just stopped playing Trove immediately again. So I'm just trying to say that as a perspective. That's the power of what that biome could do if the devs would get off their butts and implement it into everything else in the game. Just completely replace the stupid caves, seriously. As far as the gemerald resources and all that stuff is concerned, one last thing that I do gotta give you, mention to you guys is it feels like it's padded content. It does suffer from the exact same mistakes that almost every parasitic update that Trove has does, where essentially once we end up getting all of the items for the Gemeralds, there is literally no reason to ever go into the Catastra portal ever again. So once again, it's just going to be segmented content that has nothing to do with the overall scope of making this game better, which is unfortunate unless, again, they replace the delves with the Catastra biome or something similar. The one thing that I do want to mention, though, is because of the fact that this update feels so padded, also because of some whispers that I've heard from some friends, it sounds like this isn't the huge the huge update that we've been kind of anxiously awaiting for with Trove. So hopefully we will see another update come a little bit further down the pipeline that is going to end up being the big one, you know, but I don't know whether or not that's going to end up being the the summer update that was promised. I think that this is the summer update, and the new big boy update is probably going to be around October or something. We'll see. No news on when this update comes out on console. Sorry about the rambling. So there's also going to end up being the Cosmic Primordial Dragon. Of course, I'll have separate videos that I'll segment and talk about all of these things. I do have videos talking about all of that from the test server, but I'm gonna have to do updated videos now that it's live. Speaking of the Cosmic Dragon, I'm just gonna insert some footage because I haven't crafted this guy yet. I more than likely will end up crafting him just because I kind of have to, which sucks. But if we end up taking a look at his crafting components, it is astronomically bad. The general reception that I've heard from people about this dragon has been highly negative, and I would personally say that this is the absolute worst implementation of a dragon's crafting recipe that I've seen in the entire game. Like, this is one of the worst items to bother crafting, not even because of this crafting recipe, which obviously the crafting recipe is astronomically difficult to get. My problem, and I addressed this in my Cosmic Primordial PTS video, is that the ends do not justify the means. This dragon is ungodly expensive considering that it doesn't even have a unique effect like all of the other primordial dragons. And in fact, the stats that we get out of it are very minuscule. Like, it just gives us a slight increase. You can see I'm going to get 40 critical damage, 415 light, 3136 physical damage. That's based off of a 10% increase of what my geode gems do, which is not worth the asking price when you consider that the last big dragon that was kind of pay to win was the one from the skill tree. And that dragon was super duper expensive because of all the keys that you had to unlock, but at the very least you were getting passive stats, you were getting some of the best allies in the game, you know, you were getting other things along with it. So at the very least it felt like you were justified in your expenditure. But this is just, they basically just said, okay, well, we made a dragon very similar to the other primordial dragons, but let's just give it some dumb arbitrary like stat increase or crafting recipe increase. I completely disagree with the implementation of this. I think it's stupid. Devs, what were you thinking? This is why they don't watch my videos, because I'm so critical of them. That said, they did mention that the passive ability of this dragon is temporary, meaning that eventually they'll end up giving it a function similar to these other dragons. But I hate to err on the side of caution, but in my experience with the Trove developers, more than likely they're just going to forget about it and it'll just never see the light of day. If it does, I will honestly be shocked. So then more importantly, there's going to end up being badge tracking. So this is actually a really nice quality of life change. So there's going to be the badge tab right here, and it's going to end up tracking your badge that's the closest to being completed. Or at any point, you can end up going into the badges and you can just favorite any badge that you choose, and the favorited badge is going to end up being at the top of the list. And if I end up clicking always show, you can see that it's going to end up showing it right here and keeping track of it. I can get a polished ring badge. There you go. I didn't even know that that was so close to being done. Now, you know me, I don't like having stuff on my HUD, so I'm going to keep this off for the majority of my playtime. But either way, that still is a very, very nice welcome change. I do appreciate that. It says up to 5 badges can be displayed in the list. So in this list in general, it's showing 3 of them, but it means if I favorite it, it would dominate over that. And I guess I could track 5 of them. I don't know. It's still pretty cool though. Then there's going to be the Masters Autoscriptor. So this, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give you guys a screenshot of. This is not from me. But basically, once you get to 800 total, not total mastery, sorry, Trove mastery, there's going to end up being this new crafting table. I don't even know why they added this to the game, but let's go through it. So with more recipes on the way in future updates, the initial 2 recipes on this crafting table allow users to use oil-free down feathers to temporarily enhance 2 of the 800 plus mastery rewards. So there's the Wakeling Watchdog, upgrades the effect of the ally, the Wakeling, so that when it occurs, in addition to adding light, the passive ability from the Wakeling. Let's actually see if I can look at this guy. Yeah, there he is right there. So he's going to end up giving light and then chance to increase light by 150 for 10 seconds. But using the oil is going to make it so that the effect will last 3 hours instead of 10 seconds. I mean, that's a pretty significant bump in light, honestly speaking. Pretty cool, honestly. Then there's going to end up being the Spellbinder. Spellbinder adds a chance to drop blank scrolls from NPCs defeated. This effect can last for 12 hours and does not require the Downfeather Dissertation to be equipped. Okay, so there's basically, I guess there's some type of item in here that we could end up getting our hands on, but blank scrolls is just absolutely useless. Imagine giving players blank scrolls for being at 800 Trove Mastery. Absolutely stupid. Both Wakeling Watchdog and Downfeather Dissertation Spellbinder are Master's spells. Now they're adding a new terminology to Trove. And will not stack over each other. So applying one of them will end up replacing the other buff. Currently, both effects are represented with a golden pot that will appear in the top left by the buff bar. The oil-free Downfeather is obtained from the Downfeather Dissertation Tome, rewarded upon completing Mastery rank 830. So even if you got Mastery 800 and got this crafting table, you wouldn't be able to take advantage of it. However, the oil-free Downfeathers can be traded, placed on the marketplace, or consumed in adventure worlds for 30-second buff, increasing jump by 100. What? Why? Yeah, no, of course nobody's selling them. Like, what? Why? That's so strange. That's such a strange, like, why is that even a thing? Okay, anyways, then there's going to end up being the additional changes. There is a lot to this, so I'm going to end up just kind of reading through this and systematically choosing which ones I think are worth talking about. Players can now load into club PvP worlds with their friends across different regions. So too little too late, because PvP is broken now and barely works. Hopefully they refine it and make it a little bit better. But basically, we would always be split between North American and EU players. Now on PC and Xbox, we actually are playing with both North American and European users. The difference being, though, is that when I go into an adventure world, it's going to throw me in an NA server world. And if you're, an European player, it's going to throw you into a European server. However, you could still join me and I could still join you. It might end up being a bit laggy though. So my point being is PlayStation, as far as I know, is the only one that completely separates the regions just because of how PlayStation works. So I don't know whether or not this effect with PvP worlds is going to affect PlayStation users regardless of when this update hits. The mysterious trophy case, which is an item that you can find in adventure worlds and stuff, has had more trophies added to it, including new unique ones. Gateway Gladys, this guy right here, now offers a couple extra things. Okay, so he offers a wing upgrade for the Delves, which is absolutely useless, and then the Delve mount item. That's kind of funny that it has a pay-to-win equivalent, actually. So consume to permanently upgrade your current equip mount, allowing it to be used in private and challenge delves, and this one would work for the wings. These are astronomically expensive, though. I wouldn't recommend them. That's very, very expensive for very minimal gain. This one, though, might actually be pretty useful, but again, you can actually get The mount one's free to play. There's none for the wings as far as I can tell, but that's not really a big deal for the delves. Many previous event mounts, allies, boats, sails, wings, and mag riders have been moved from the event category to the new event vault category in the collections menu. The Geodian weekly deal. Why does it say I can buy? Okay, weird. Where's the Geodian weekly deal? Not the companion pack. Okay, so there's like a weekly deal that shows up here in the store sometimes. Either way, this rotates weekly, or this rotating weekly deal provides 1 event vault stash, unlock 1 random 15-day patron and 5 primal paragon cubes for 3,000 credits. So you basically are paying like 5 times the price of normal patron for 15 days to get a bunch of primal paragon cubes and 1 mount, or well, 1 item, let's say. So they also changed it so that emblems that could previously be obtained in Luxian's inventory are now in this guy's inventory, which as far as I recall, did they make the same mistake that they did when it was on the test server? Yeah, they did. They threw it into this guy's inventory, but it still costs dragon coins, which is so stupid because so many of these should not even cost dragon coins. At the very least, though, you can get unyielding at any point in time, so that's actually pretty nice. A bunch of different items have been moved out of the events tab in the collectible menu into the store tab because technically they're gotten out of packs. Yeah, generally they ended up removing, or not removing, but just shifting around and moving a bunch of different categories of mounts and allies and junk. The lava scarred bubble in the depths of the angler, I don't have it, but you guys, this will affect maybe, now correctly reduces damage taken instead of increasing it. Some of the dungeons in a varying amount of biomes have been slightly adjusted to provide a better experience based on feedback. I haven't noticed it, but I don't really go into those biomes that much. I like how they specifically say that it affects some dungeons in Geo Topside, but I can confirm it has not affected the 5-star dungeons that all of us hate. They also added a bunch of different decoration blocks from previous events into different crafting stations. Pinzo now sells these absolutely stupidly overpriced bombs. These are just normal bombs. There's nothing unique about them. The rubber bomb does bounce, but generally speaking, it's just VFX and it's way too expensive for me to care. I think that if they made these proper market value, like in-game market value, then players might actually buy these. But unfortunately, this is just, I don't know who would end up wasting their flux doing this. There's just no reason to. I still think that they should have these be bomb skins that would replace your normal vanilla bombs. And then I could see justifying the price of 250k just to unlock the style itself. Lastly, they mentioned that they changed the trophy for Pirate Captain. I don't know if it didn't show the trophy for Pirate Captain properly, but there it is up there, whatever. I don't know. Lots of our little additional changes, but nothing really worth mentioning. Thank you so much for watching, gamers. Really appreciate it. Smash like, sub for more. Sayonara and stay epic.